I know you have seen these videos before. Letters from heaven, messages from angels, digital divine letters arriving in your feed, one after another, day after day. I know, because I watch them too. And I want to say something to you before I open this envelope today. Something I have never said at the start of one of these videos. Something that I think you actually need to hear first. Most of those letters are beautiful. Some of them are moving. But here is what I have noticed after months of receiving and reading the letters that arrive. Here, there is a difference. And the difference is not in the words alone. The difference is in the source. Anyone can write a letter and call it divine. Anyone can set a mood and speak over dramatic music and tell you that heaven is watching. The internet is full of it. You have seen it 100 times by now. So why are you still here? Why did something in you slow down when this video appeared in your feed today, instead of scrolling past it the way you scroll past the others? I want to tell you what I believe about that. I believe your spirit already knows the difference between a word that was composed for a general audience and a word that was composed specifically for you. And I believe that something in you, the deepest, most honest part of you that does not lie to itself, recognized something about today's letter before you even clicked on it. A pull, a quiet but undeniable nudge that said, "This one, stop for this one." I have been receiving these physical letters for months now, sealed envelopes, a USB drive inside, printed materials alongside, and I want to be honest with you about something. There are mornings when a letter arrives, and I open it and I read it, and it is good. And then there are mornings when a letter arrives, and I know, before I break the seal, that what is inside is going to reach someone in a way that the other letters do not. That this particular word was written for a specific person who is carrying a specific weight at a specific point in their story. And that the only reason it arrived today is because that person's moment has finally come. This morning was one of those mornings. Today's letter was one of those letters. I am not going to ask you to stop scrolling. You already stopped. I am not going to tell you that this message was meant for you. Something already told you that before I said a word. What I am going to ask you is this. Whatever else is competing for your attention right now, whatever notification is waiting, whatever task is sitting half finished, whatever worry is running its familiar loop in the back of your mind, I am asking you to set it down completely for the next hour, because what is in this envelope today is not background noise. It is not content. It is not a performance. It is a word, a real one, and it has been waiting a long time to reach you. Before I begin, one question, and it is not a rhetorical one. I want you to answer it honestly, in the silence of your own heart. When is the last time someone, not a video, not a performance, not a carefully crafted spiritual presentation, actually looked at you, at the real you, at the version of you that does not have it together, at the you that is tired in ways you cannot fully explain, at the you that has been believing and pressing and trusting and still does not have what you have been asking for? When is the last time someone looked at that person and said, "I see you completely, and I am not going anywhere"? If you cannot remember the last time, then today just changed everything.
My name is Michael, commander of the armies of heaven, guardian of the gates between what is visible and what is not. And I have been sent to you today with a message that was composed in the council chambers of eternity and delivered at this precise hour of your life for reasons that are not accidental and are not vague. Hear me. I was not sent to you with a comfortable message. I was sent with a true one. And the truth, when it is spoken from the authority of the one who holds all things, does not merely inspire. It transforms. It does not merely encourage. It activates. And what is being activated in your life today has been building toward this moment for far longer than you know. Before I tell you what the Father has commissioned me to declare over your life, I want to do something first. Something that perhaps no voice has done for you in longer than you deserve. I want to acknowledge you, not the performance you have been putting on for the world, not the composed face you show at church or at the family table or in the checkout line when the cashier asks how you are doing and you say fine. I want to acknowledge you, where you actually are, right now, without apology and without the pretense of being further along than you are. Perhaps you are carrying a tiredness that sleep does not touch, the kind that lives below the body and above the soul, in the place where prolonged endurance makes its home. Perhaps there are people in your life who take from you far more than they return, and you have been giving anyway. Not because you are foolish, because you are faithful, and because the love is real, even when the cost is high. Perhaps there are prayers that you have been sending heavenward for months, for years, prayers born from genuine, costly faith. And the silence that has answered them has begun to feel, in the darkest hours, like something worse than rejection, like invisibility. Listen to me now. The fact that you are still here, still praying, still pressing toward the Father despite every season that was designed to make you release your grip, is not a small thing. Do not minimize it. Do not call it stubbornness or habit or the inability to let go. Call it what it is. It is extraordinary faithfulness, and I declare to you today that heaven has not missed a single day of it. The angels that stand at attention around your life have been recording every morning you chose to believe when believing was costly. Every night you chose to trust when the evidence ran out. Every moment you kept going when stopping would have been entirely understandable. Heaven's full attention is on you today, and it is not the attention of a God who finally remembered you were there. It is the attention of a God who has never looked away. Now, let me tell you exactly what brought me here, what the Father saw in the specific landscape of your life that caused him to say, "Today, send Michael, open the envelope. It is time." What he saw was a threshold, not a metaphor, not a spiritual concept dressed in threshold language, a real, definable, precise point in the architecture of your actual story, where the path you have been walking arrives at a door. And this is not a door you can force open with the right words or the right prayer or the right amount of faith performed at the right volume. This is a door that opens from the other side, from the side where the Father stands. And today, I am telling you with the authority given to me by the one who sent me, that door is moving.
The envelope contained more than words today. It contained this, a photograph sent alongside the letter. Look at this carefully. This is not decoration. This is a declaration.
There is something I must explain to you about the way the Father architects a life, because without this understanding, you will keep misreading the map of your own story. And misreading your map is costing you the peace that should already be yours. That peace belongs to you. It was purchased for you, and today I intend to return it. When a master builder designs a structure built to last for generations, the work that consumes the most time, the most precision, the most labor, is never the part that visitors come to see. It is the foundation, the underground architecture, the invisible buried skeleton that determines whether everything constructed above it can stand against wind, against pressure, against the relentless test of time. Visitors to a great cathedral do not come to admire the footings buried beneath the floor. They come to gasp at the vaulted ceiling, the soaring columns, the light through ancient glass. But every single thing they gasp at is only possible because of the hidden work that no one photographed and no one applauded. The Father is a master builder, and for the majority of you listening to this message today, the season you have been walking through has been your foundation season. The underground work, the invisible labor, the part that no one comes to celebrate, the part that feels unremarkable and unrecognized and sometimes crushing, because foundations are laid under immense pressure, under the full weight of everything that will one day rest upon them. Hear this clearly. When you look at someone else's life and their building appears so much further along than yours, when the beautiful, visible parts of their story seem so complete, while yours seems still under construction, you are making a comparison that does not have access to the full data. You do not see their foundation. You do not know what corners were cut in the underground work of their life. You do not see the cracks forming beneath the surface of a structure that looks impressive from the outside. You only see what is above ground, and above ground is never the whole story. But I'm here today to tell you something about your foundation. And I need you to receive this not as encouragement designed to make you feel better for an hour. I need you to receive this as intelligence, as a report from someone who can see both what is above ground and what is below. What the Father has been building in you, beneath the surface, through every season of difficulty and waiting and refining, is not a foundation for something ordinary. What has been laid beneath your life is engineered to support something of extraordinary scale and extraordinary permanence. The reason the underground work has felt so extensive, so costly, so endlessly ongoing, is precisely because of the weight of what is coming to rest upon it. Write this down. The length of your preparation is directly proportional to the magnitude of what is being prepared for you. That is not a platitude. That is not something I say to comfort you. That is the governing principle of how the kingdom operates. And it applies to your life with the same precision it is applied to every life in the history of the people of God who were called to carry something significant.
And now, the first prediction card from today's letter.
Now, I need you to grip the next thing I say and hold it, because what I am about to describe to you is not a future promise. It is not something to look forward to with guarded hope. What I am about to describe is already happening. Today, right now, in the invisible dimensions that run parallel to the one your physical senses inhabit, dimensions that are more real, not less real, than what you can see and touch and measure. Today, there is movement in the heavenly realm around your specific situation. I did not say general movement. I did not say a broad spiritual stirring that applies equally to everyone who happens to be listening to this message. I said specific, targeted, named movement. Movement that has your life as its arrival point. Think of it this way. Imagine a river that has been flowing toward a particular valley for a very long time. The valley cannot see the river approaching. It cannot hear it. From the surface, the valley looks exactly as it has always looked. Day after day, unchanged, unaware. While deep in the terrain, something is shifting, invisibly, inevitably, as the water draws closer. And then one morning, without warning, the valley wakes up and the river arrives. And what had been dry and silent and waiting runs with life. You are that valley, and what has been moving toward you for longer than you understand is drawing close. Reach out your hands. Stop holding them closed. What is coming cannot be received by someone whose hands are balled into fists. The Father did not set all of this in motion and travel all this distance toward your life so that you could meet what He is sending with your arms crossed and your guard up. Open. Receive. Believe that the God who began this process has not stopped midway through it, because He has not. The Father's faithfulness does not expire. What He set in motion for your life before your name was spoken in the physical world has not been canceled by the difficulty of the seasons that came before today. There is a battle happening over your identity, and I will not speak about it softly, because the softness of how this particular war has been conducted is exactly what has made it so effective against you. Let me be direct. The adversary of your soul is not particularly interested in making you do something catastrophically, obviously wrong. He is far more sophisticated than that, far more patient. What he is most committed to, in the specific, customized campaign he has been running against a life like yours, is making you forget who you are. Not all at once. That would be too obvious, too easy to reject. Instead, he works through accumulation, through the steady, unhurried drip of small disappointments that together form a slow erosion of your sense of identity and worth and calling, through the voice that compares where you are to where you thought you would be by now and pronounces a verdict of insufficiency, through the whisper repeated so often it begins to sound like your own thought that the days of your greatest impact are behind you, that the window for your particular kind of contribution to the world has closed, that you are, in the most devastating and quietly spoken of ways, no longer relevant. I speak with the full authority of the one who sent me when I tell you this. That is a lie, not a misunderstanding, not a perspective worth considering. A categorical, deliberate, strategically deployed lie, composed specifically for you, spoken into the frequency of your particular fears, designed to produce exactly the retreat and the silence and the smallness that it has been producing.
Stop. Look at this. This image was placed in the envelope alongside the letter for a reason. The one who sent this letter knew you would need to see this, not only hear it.
And the evidence against it is overwhelming. Look at the simple fact of where you are standing right now. You have survived seasons that were architecturally designed to break you. You have pressed through losses that were precisely calculated to make you release the Father's hand. You've maintained the essential core of who you are through a quality of sustained pressure that reshapes lesser materials beyond all recognition. And here you stand, marked by what you have been through. Yes, changed in the ways that necessary fire changes everything it refines. Yes, but fundamentally, in the deepest places, still yourself. Still reaching, still believing, still present. That is not coincidence. That is not stubbornness. That is evidence. Evidence that what the Father placed inside you cannot be broken by the ordinary instruments of destruction. Evidence that everything that was sent to diminish you has instead, in ways you are only beginning to fully see, deepened you. Evidence that the story is not over. That the most powerful chapters of a life are not always the earliest ones. That the most fruitful seasons do not always arrive before the hair turns silver, or the knees begin to ache, or the grandchildren start asking questions that make your heart catch in your throat. Hear me on this. Some of the most powerful and world-altering things the Father has ever done through a human life, He has done in the later chapters, after the proving, after the long refinement. When the person standing before Him has been emptied of every need to perform for anyone, including themselves, and simply offers what they are with the unguarded, uncomplicated directness of someone who has stopped pretending and started being real. That is exactly where you are headed. And today is the first day of that arrival. Now I need to tell you something about the pattern the Father uses when He is about to radically accelerate someone's story. Because if you do not understand this pattern, you will misread the season you are currently in. You will interpret the very signs of approaching acceleration as evidence that nothing is happening. And that misreading is the one the enemy most wants you to make. When people imagine divine acceleration, they imagine something loud, something unmistakable, a door that swings open so dramatically wide that the only possible response is to walk through it. And those moments exist. I have stood in the atmosphere of them. I have watched the waters part and the prison doors swing open and the impossible provision appear from nowhere and leave no room for any explanation other than the power of God. But the acceleration that most consistently precedes those moments is silent. It looks from the outside like nothing at all, like a continuation of the same ordinary days. And what is actually happening in that apparent stillness is this: the Father is making final adjustments, positioning with extraordinary precision the people, the provisions, the circumstances, the conversations that are meant to converge at the exact moment of breakthrough, ensuring that when the door opens, everything required to walk through it and sustain what is on the other side is already in its assigned place. The quiet before a breakthrough is not abandonment. It is the stillness of a God who is working at a level of detail too fine for your current instruments to detect. It is the precision of a craftsman who has set down every tool and leaned close to the work, examining it with full attention, making absolutely certain that what is about to be released into the world is exactly as it needs to be. The Father has been leaning close over your life, and what He is certain of today, after everything He has poured into the hidden work of your preparation, is this: you are ready, not perfect, ready. And there is a difference between those two words that I need you to permanently seize.
Another word from the envelope, a prediction, written before today arrived. Read this carefully.
Perfect means untouched, unblemished by life, unaltered by the fire that was necessary to produce the person standing here now. And perfection of that kind in a human life is not just impossible. It is useless, because it is the marks of your journey, the evidence of the fire walked through and survived, the places in your story where grace had to step in and carry what you could no longer carry, that make you useful for the assignment the Father has in mind. A vessel with no history of fracture and restoration is a vessel that has never been tested, and the Father does not trust untested vessels with what He is about to pour. You have been broken. You have been restored. And the restoration has made you stronger at the precise point of the fracture than you were before it happened. This is not a spiritual metaphor. This is documented physical reality. When human bone fractures and heals in proper alignment, the bone at the fracture point becomes more dense than the surrounding bone, more resistant, more capable of bearing load under pressure. The place that was broken becomes the strongest place in the entire structure. Your brokenness has been doing the same thing in your spirit. And today, the Father is declaring with finality that the healing is complete. And what has been the most broken place in you is about to become the most powerful place in you. Now listen, because I will not allow this moment to pass without naming the specific weapon that has been working against this truth in your life. Know your enemy's strategy. That is not optional. That is survival. The attack against your identity does not come as a thundering declaration. That would be too easy to reject. It comes as a whisper, reasonable, measured, almost kind in its apparent realism. A small, soft contraction in your chest when you see someone else moving in the direction you hoped your life would move. A thought that begins, "At my age," or "After everything that happened," or "It is probably too late now for," thoughts that wear the costume of earned wisdom while carrying, under that costume, the DNA of pure resignation. Do not be deceived. That voice is not wisdom. That voice is not the hard-won clarity of a life honestly examined. That specific voice, the one that sounds the most like reasonable self-protection, is the most effective weapon currently deployed against your future. The Father's answer to that strategy is not to teach you to hope less to avoid disappointment. His answer is to restore your hope fully, because He is not protecting you from the pain of disappointed hope by reducing your expectations. He is protecting you from disappointed hope by being the kind of God who does not disappoint. And today, He is commanding you to bet on that again.
There is a third image in today's envelope. The letter said it was included because some things cannot be carried by words alone. This is one of them. Look at this. Truly look.
One more declaration before we move forward. For every person listening who has been pressing their faith against pain in a way that logic alone cannot explain, I call before you the names that the Spirit of God has recorded. Joseph, who was sold by his own brothers into chains before he became the one who rescued nations from famine. Hannah, who wept in the temple year after year, ridiculed for her barrenness, before she conceived the prophet who would anoint the kings of Israel. Naomi, who buried her husband and both of her sons in a foreign land before she became the instrument through which the lineage leading to the Messiah himself was preserved, not despite their suffering, through it. The suffering was not incidental. It was the forge in which the capacity for the assignment was hammered into being. And your suffering has been doing the same thing. The capacity has been forged. The assignment is closer than it has ever been. Now, I will speak to something specific. Something that the Father did not send me here to speak around or address in comfortable generalities. He sent me to speak directly, and so I will. There is something you have been carrying that does not belong to you. It is not a sin. It is not a character flaw. It is not even a burden you consciously chose to pick up. It is a verdict. Someone else's verdict about who you are. Spoken over you, perhaps years ago, perhaps in a single moment that you have not even consciously visited in a long time, but whose words embedded themselves so deeply into the structure of your self-understanding that they became part of the lens through which you evaluate everything available to you. A verdict that said, you are not enough, or too much, or past your season of usefulness, or fundamentally deficient in a way that makes the good things available to other people somehow not quite available to you. That verdict has been holding court in your life without jurisdiction. And today, I am bringing it before the authority of the one who holds final jurisdiction over the record of your life. And I am telling you with absolute and unqualified certainty, that verdict is overturned, not debated, not balanced against other evidence. Overturned, nullified, stripped of every particle of the authority it was never legitimately given. Because here's the truth about the person or the circumstance that delivered that verdict. They did not have access to the information required to render an accurate judgment about you. They saw a moment, a season, a fragment of who you are in a specific set of circumstances, and they spoke as if they had seen the whole. They were wrong, and the Father has never agreed with them. Not for a single moment of your entire life has He looked at you and seen what that verdict claimed to see. He has always, without exception, seen what He made. And what He made is extraordinary.
Another word from the heavenly record, a prediction card. Let these words land where they need to land.
I want to speak now to something that some of you are navigating in your bodies today. Because the Father did not send this message to minister to your spirit while ignoring the physical reality you are waking up inside of. For some of you, the most pressing and immediate weight in your life right now is physical. A body that is not cooperating with the life you are reaching for. A diagnosis that arrived and rearranged the geography of your days. Pain that is present and real and costly. The daily, grinding negotiation between what you want to be able to do and what your body in this season will permit. Hear the Father on this. He sees your body. He is not looking at it as an obstacle to your usefulness. He is not weighing your value against your current physical capacity and arriving at a reduced number. He sees it as a vessel, and vessels that have borne weight, that carry the marks of long and sustained service, that have been through the kind of use that comes from a life fully lived, carry a dignity and a substance that newly minted, untested vessels simply do not. And I need you to understand something critical about the history of how the Father has worked. The most miraculous demonstrations of His power throughout the entire span of your spiritual heritage have consistently occurred through vessels whose physical condition made the outcome impossible by natural assessment. When it was obvious that the body involved could not produce by its own strength what was being produced through it, what remained was incontrovertible evidence of the one operating through it. The weakened vessel has, again and again throughout history, been the one through which the most undeniable things have flowed. Your body is known to the Father today. Its specific aches, its specific limitations, the ways it requires more care and more consideration now than it once did, and none of that disqualifies you. In many cases, it positions you more precisely for the assignment at hand, because the person you are built to reach, the ear that will open to your voice, is often the person who is themselves navigating a physical reality that is trying to tell them their story is over. And what you bring to that person is not sympathy from a distance. It is testimony from the inside, which is the most unshakable kind of testimony there is. There is a question living in the silent center of your heart that you have perhaps never allowed yourself to speak aloud, not to another person, barely to yourself, because saying it would require admitting you are carrying it, and carrying it has sometimes felt like a measurement of your faith that you are afraid to submit to examination. The question is this: does any of this still apply to me? Not in the broad collective sense that all believers have dignity and worth. Personally, specifically, with all the time that has passed, and all the ways the story has unfolded differently than I believed it would, and all the things that were lost or deferred, or simply did not arrive when I expected them, does the Father still have something alive and significant and genuinely new for me? Or is this the stage of the journey where I simply maintain? Where I hold what I have, practice gratitude for it, and stop daring to imagine something that feels like genuine, fresh, forward movement? I am here today to answer that question with direct authority, without pastoral hedging, without the careful management of your expectations by someone more concerned with your disappointment than with your truth. The answer is yes, unconditionally, unqualifiedly, without exception. Whatever your age, whatever your history, whatever the specific inventory of what was lost or diminished or deferred in the years that brought you to today. The Father is not in a posture of conclusion with your life. He is not managing a wind down. He is not helping you maintain a holding pattern while you wait for this chapter of existence to run its course. He is building right now, today, with the full focused intensity of his creative attention applied to the specific project that is your life. He is working towards something that has not yet happened. Something he intends to happen through you. Something that actually requires the particular person you have become through every single year of the journey. And that something is beginning to move into visible range.
We are at the heart of today's letter now, and the heart required an image. This image, look at what was placed in this envelope. Look at what the sender chose to include here, at the exact center of everything.
Let me tell you exactly how to recognize it when it arrives, because the Father's provision for this new season will not announce itself in the way you have been trained to look. And missing it because you were watching the wrong horizon would be the specific tragedy I am here to prevent. The first signal will be unusual peace. Peace that arrives inside circumstances that should be producing anxiety. Peace that, when you try to describe it to someone else, sounds almost irresponsible given what is still unresolved. Peace that is not numbness, not resigned indifference, not giving up caring. The active, alive, deep-rooted certainty of a person who knows, below the level of argument, that the one who holds all things is holding theirs too. When that peace arrives in a place where anxiety has historically lived, do not dismiss it. Recognize it. It is the signature of the Father's proximity. And where his proximity is concentrated, provision follows. The second signal will be unexpected connection, a conversation that you did not plan, with a person you perhaps had set aside in your calculations, in which something is said or offered or made possible that opens a door you had quietly stopped believing was meant for you. These conversations will not feel accidental in the moment they arrive. They will carry a quality of significance that makes you sit up differently. When you find yourself in one, do not be polite and move on. Press in. Ask the next question. Follow the thread all the way to where it leads, because the Father does not orchestrate a divine appointment and then abandon you to figure out alone what it means. He orchestrates the meeting and prepares the continuation. Your job is simply to recognize which conversations he is in and to refuse to treat them as ordinary. The third signal will be the return of specific desire. Something you have wanted for a long time will suddenly feel not distant and protected behind walls of self-defense, but possible, warm, real, worth imagining in specific, detailed, forward-looking ways. This will happen not because your circumstances have changed dramatically, but because something internal has shifted. A layer of resignation that had been quietly sedimenting in the lower floors of your expectations will begin to lift. And in the open space it leaves behind, desire will return. Not the cautious, self-protecting near hope of someone bracing for disappointment. Real desire. the kind that dares to name a specific future and reach toward it. When that desire returns, write it down immediately. Writing desire down is one of the most concrete and powerful acts of collaboration with the Father's plan that a human being can perform.
3 signs have been named in today's letter, and this card was placed in the envelope to seal them. Read this.
I want to speak now about the people who are already in your life, not the people approaching on the horizon of your future. Though those conversations are coming, and they are significant. The ones who are present with you now, the ones you eat with and worry about and pray over, and sometimes cannot reach, no matter how many times you extend your hand. Think about the people in your family who are struggling, the child or the grandchild whose choices have been causing you a specific kind of pain that only a parent or grandparent fully understands, the sibling, the friend, the one you love most deeply and feel you can help least effectively, the one walking in a kind of darkness that your every prayer and conversation and expression of concern seems unable to penetrate. Hear what the Father is saying about your role in those situations. He is not calling you to be the one who fixes them. He is not calling you to argue them into better choices or persist in trying to shift their trajectory by force of love and will. Those strategies, however well-intentioned, produce frustration in you and resistance in them. And the Father has a better assignment for you. He is calling you to carry them, not on your back in the unsustainable, self-destroying way that good-hearted people attempt, absorbing someone else's pain into their own body as though feeling it twice will somehow have it. He is calling you to carry them the way a deep river carries a boat, beneath it, bearing its full weight without appearing to strain, moving it forward not through direct force, but through the constant, unrelenting forward movement of the current itself. When you are rooted in the Father the way this coming season will root you, the people around you will begin to shift in ways that have nothing to do with your persuasion. They will change because proximity to your peace has begun to make their own chaos feel less permanent. They will reach toward faith not because you built an argument compelling enough to dismantle their defenses, but because watching you live your faith made it look, perhaps for the first time, like something real, something habitable, something available even to a person like them. That is the influence the Father is activating in you, and it cannot be manufactured. It cannot be performed into existence. It can only be grown, and growing it is precisely what this long, difficult, invisible season has been doing. Let me address something now that I know is a real and immediate concern for many of you. Not abstract, not theoretical. The financial dimension of the season you are in. I do not come today to speak to the eternal parts of your life while pretending that the practical parts do not exist. For many of you, the weight of financial uncertainty is not background noise. It is foreground reality. It lives in the specific numbers of a bank account, in the gap between what comes in and what goes out, in the middle of the night arithmetic that produces no comfortable answer, in the particular vulnerability of a fixed income in a world where nothing is fixed. The Father sees this, and He has never been a God who only provides spiritually. Look at the record. throughout the entire span of the people he has loved and led and called his own, he has again and again demonstrated care through tangible provision, through harvests that returned far more than what was planted, through oil that refused to run out when it should have run out weeks before, through bread that appeared in a wilderness where bread does not grow, through the exact resource needed arriving from exactly the direction that was never being watched. He has not changed. What he did in the wilderness, he does today. And what I need you to understand about his provision in the coming season is this: it will almost certainly not arrive from the direction you have been watching. The Father has a sovereign preference for providing through doors that were dismissed as too small, too unlikely, too disconnected from the specific category of need. And the reason he works this way is not to complicate your life. It is to protect the clarity of the source. When provision arrives from an unexpected direction, there is no possibility of confusion about who sent it. There is no room for your own cleverness to take credit. The unexpectedness is the fingerprint. The unexpectedness is the evidence. So in the coming days, pay fierce attention to the unexpected. The small thing you are about to walk past, the conversation you are about to decline, the door that looks too plain to hold anything significant. The Father hides extraordinary provision inside ordinary-looking packaging, not to make it harder to find, to make the finding of it an act of faith.
When I opened this envelope this morning, this image stopped me completely. I held it for a long time before I could continue. Now I want you to hold it too. Look at what provision from heaven actually looks like.
I want to speak about something that I have held deliberately for this part of the message, because what I am about to say has a way of either passing over the surface of a heart or lodging inside it permanently, and which one it does depends entirely on the depth of the ground beneath it. After everything we have walked through together in this letter today, I believe your ground is deep enough. There is a purpose woven into the fabric of your existence that is yours alone. Not purpose, in the general sense that every human life has value and meaning. A specific purpose, exact, individual, carrying your name, built around the particular combination of your personality, your history, your gifts, the specific quality of what you have endured and survived and been shaped by. A purpose so precisely calibrated to who you are that no other human being who has ever drawn breath could fulfill it in your place. And that purpose has not expired. Do not let those words slide past you. Stop. Let them land. The purpose the Father placed in you is not in the past. It has not been forfeited by the years that held more loss than triumph. It is alive, active, pressing toward its own fulfillment with the same relentless, unstoppable momentum with which a river presses toward the sea. No obstacle reroutes a river permanently. It finds the way through. Always. Now I need you to understand something about how that purpose operates. Because the way the world defines purpose and the way the kingdom defines it are radically different. The world measures purpose in outputs, in achievements, in legacy calculated by what is left behind after you are gone. The kingdom measures purpose in presence, not what you do, but what you are. The purpose the Father placed in you is expressed most powerfully, not in performance, but in being, in the quality of your presence in a room, in the depth of your love in a conversation, in the way that people whose lives intersect with yours leave those encounters carrying something they did not carry when they arrived, and most of them cannot even name what changed. There are specific people whose lives the Father has designed to be permanently altered by their contact with yours. I am not speaking figuratively. I am speaking with the same precision with which a commanding general speaks about troop positions on a map. Specific people, assigned, destined to cross your path at specific coordinates in time and space, not because you are going to deliver a performance that moves them, not because you are going to solve a problem they bring you, but because the presence of God that rests on your life is going to make contact with something in their spirit that has needed exactly that contact for years. And the recognition that occurs in that moment will echo in them for the rest of their lives. You will not always witness what happens. You will sometimes walk away from what felt like an ordinary exchange while on the other side of it, something extraordinary was set permanently in motion. That is precisely as the Father designed it. The influence he is speaking about today does not require the one carrying it to track its own impact. It requires only that they remain present, willing, available, deployed in the small, unglamorous, quietly enormous ways that actually change lives from the inside. Today, that availability is being renewed in you. That willingness is being restored. That presence is being opened wider after seasons that caused it to partially contract. And the people whose lives were always meant to intersect with yours are being drawn toward that renewed presence right now, with a precision and a momentum that is extraordinary to observe from where I stand. Now I need to give you something practical to carry away from this message. Because the Father did not commission this letter to produce a moving, emotional experience that evaporates by morning. He commissioned it to change the actual texture of your days. So I will be specific. First, before you sleep tonight, stop and name one thing, not a general category. One specific thing in your actual, present, real life today that carries the fingerprint of a God who sees you and is paying attention. Something that, when you look at it honestly, without the filter of what is still unresolved, is evidence of his care. Write it down. Say it out loud, not in a whisper, with volume. Because specific, spoken, intentional gratitude is not merely a spiritual practice. It is an act of precision targeting, and attention consistently aimed at the evidence of the Father's faithfulness builds, over time, a quality of unshakable certainty that nothing in this world can dismantle. Second, this week, deliberately seek one person in your life who is in a season of real difficulty. Not to fix them, not to offer the unsolicited wisdom that most people in pain are not actually asking for. To be fully present with them. Ask how they are. Then refuse to manage the answer towards something more comfortable. Sit in the reality of what they are carrying without flinching and without rushing toward resolution. Let your presence say what words cannot always say. I am not going anywhere. What you are carrying is real, and it matters, and you are not facing it alone. That quality of presence, born out of the seasons you have walked through, is one of the most powerful forms of ministry that exists, and it belongs to you. Use it, Third, forgive something today. I am not asking you to undertake the enormous labor of releasing a massive, foundational wound. I am asking you to identify the ongoing, lower-level, daily grievance that has been adding a specific heaviness to your days. The one that has been running so consistently beneath the surface of your awareness that you barely register it anymore, except in the faint dimming of joy that accompanies it. Hand it to the Father today, not because the person who caused it deserves to be released from accountability, because you deserve to be released from the weight of carrying it. Forgiveness is not primarily something you give to another person. It is something you reclaim for yourself. It is the removal of a weight that was attached only to you. Cut it loose. Today.
3 commissions were given in this letter, and this card was placed here to confirm them. Hear this word.
As I bring this letter toward its final words, I need to say something with the greatest urgency I have brought to anything in this message. Because I know what happens in the days and weeks following a word like this. I know what the enemy will attempt, and I refuse to let you be caught unprepared for it. Change is coming, and change, even the change you have been praying for, carries with it a particular vulnerability, the vulnerability of having hoped again, of having reopened a part of yourself that had been carefully protected by the scar tissue of previous disappointments. And when the new things begin to move, there will be a voice, quiet and reasonable, and dressed in familiar clothing, that asks whether you are imagining it, whether you are reading significance into coincidences, whether the hope you allowed yourself to feel is about to cost you the way hope has cost you before. When that voice comes, hear mine instead. I am not limited to the duration of this recording. The commission I carry over your life does not end when this letter closes. I have been assigned to you, and I am telling you now, in advance of the doubt that will attempt to arrive, what I will say to you in that moment. I will say this. The Father does not send messages like this one into ordinary moments by accident. Every word of this letter was composed in eternity, with full knowledge of your specific situation. The fact that it reached you today, at this precise intersection of your journey, is not coincidence. Coincidence is only what divine orchestration looks like from the inside of a story when you cannot yet see the author's hand. And the author's hand has never stopped moving in your story. Do not retreat into smallness when the movement begins. Do not pull back to the familiar safety of low expectations when the first tender new growth of this season appears. Lean in. With the full weight of the faith that has carried you through every season that preceded today, what is moving toward you in this coming season requires the version of you that knows it is loved, knows it is called, knows it does not carry this alone. And you are that version. You became that version in the fire of everything you have walked through. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and you will not be alone in anything that follows. Let me speak now to the grief that lives in the quiet rooms of your heart about the years already behind you. The grief of time, of chapters that held things you wish had gone differently, of choices you would unmake if the option existed, of words that cannot be unsaid, or words that were never said in time, of years you would return to, armed with the wisdom you carry now. I will not offer you a soft answer about this grief. I will offer you a true one. The Father does not need those years to have been different in order to accomplish everything He intends in the years that remain. He does not work with the version of your life that you wish had happened. He works with the actual one, the real one, with its wrong turns and its detours and its seasons that cost you more than you wanted to spend. And He is, I tell you, with the full force of what I have witnessed across the entire span of human history, extraordinary at making use of the actual. He is the God who turned water into wine, who multiplied 5 loaves and 2 small fish until 12 baskets of fragments were left over after 5,000 people were fed, who called Lazarus by name out of a tomb 4 days after the mourning had concluded. The degree of difficulty your particular history presents to His creative power is not a challenge. It is, if anything, exactly the kind of canvas He has demonstrated again and again a sovereign preference for working on. Your years are not lost, not one of them, not the ones spent in directions that did not produce what you hoped, not the ones spent in places you would not willingly return to, not even the ones spent in the kind of pain that leaves permanent marks. They are all part of the material He is actively working with, right now, today, in this season. And in His hands, every single piece of it is usable. The apparent failures, the seasons of silence, the wounds that have not fully closed, all of it, every last irreducible piece of what your life has actually been.
We are almost at the final words of today's letter, and before we reach them, one more image was placed here. This image was chosen to represent the years that were not lost. Look at this carefully. This is your story. This is what the Father has been doing with the material of your life.
Before this letter closes, I want to leave you with something that I need you to be able to return to on the days when the noise of ordinary life drowns out everything we have spoken here today. The Father loves you. I know you know this. I know it is a sentence you have carried in your theology for most of your life, but I am asking you to receive it differently in this moment. Not as doctrine, not as the general truth that God loves humanity, as personal address, as words spoken directly to the individual sitting exactly where you are sitting, carrying exactly what you are carrying, having lived exactly what you have lived. The Father loves you, the actual you, the complicated, layered, imperfect, sometimes exhausted, sometimes doubtful, always ultimately returning to Him you. That specific, particular, unrepeatable you is the object of a love so complete and so permanent and so unconditional that the full magnitude of it would require more than a human lifetime to begin to explore. It is not contingent on your performance. It is not scaled to the quality of your current spiritual discipline. It is not diminished by your failures or amplified by your successes. It simply is total, unwavering, permanent. And it is that love that sent this letter today. Not obligation, not divine protocol. Love. Specific, personal, named you love that looked at the exact coordinates of your life at this precise moment and said with absolute certainty, "Today." Send Michael. Open the envelope. It is time for them to hear this. He is faithful. He is near. He is building. He is moving. And today was not an accident. This is Archangel Michael. And I speak to you today not merely as a messenger delivering a general word to a general audience. I speak to you, to the person whose name the Father called when he commissioned this letter. By the authority given to me by the one who holds every moment of your past and every promise of your future in his hands, I declare over your life on this day, you are not forgotten. You are not finished, and what is coming toward you, it is greater than what you left behind. Receive it, stand in it, and walk forward into the season that has your name on it. One final word before the letter closes, and it is this: in the days ahead, there will be moments when the ground beneath you feels firm, and moments when it feels uncertain. There will be days when everything I have spoken to you today feels alive and present and undeniable. And there will also be days when it feels distant, when the noise of your circumstances drowns out the frequency of what we touched here together. On those days, I want you to remember one single thing, not the whole message, not every theological thread, just this: the Father, who knows the number of every hair on your head, the one who notices the falling of every sparrow, who writes the names of his people on the palms of his hands, so that they are never far from his sight, that Father sent a letter for you today, because he had something specific to say to the specific person you are, in the specific moment you are in, with the specific life you are living. Not because you deserved it, not because you earned it, not because your faith has been perfect, or your choices have all been right, or your record of consistency would impress anyone, but because that is the kind of God he is, the kind who reaches, the kind who initiates, the kind who does not wait for you to find your way back before he begins walking toward you. He is walking toward you today with something extraordinary in his hands, and the most powerful thing you can do in response is simply hold out yours. It has been waiting long enough.
The last item in today's envelope, the final word, the seal on everything this letter declared. I want you to watch me hold this up, and I want you to read every word. Every time I read one of these letters, something changes in the air of this room. And I have been standing here long enough to know when a message was extraordinary. Today was extraordinary. You could have scrolled past this. You could have moved on to the next letter, the next channel, the next beautiful word set to beautiful music. But you stayed all the way to this moment. And that tells me something. It tells me that what was spoken in this letter today reached the place in you it was sent for. There are more letters coming. There are always more letters coming, because the Father never runs out of things he needs to say to the people he loves. And somewhere in those letters, there is a word that is written for the specific season you are about to enter. A word that will arrive at the precise moment you need it. Not too early, not too late. If you do not want to miss it, subscribe to this channel, Letters from Archangel Michael, and press the notification bell, that is all, so that when the next envelope opens, you will be there to receive what is inside it. We will see you for the next letter.